Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 244 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the not part of the Spark Podcast Network. That's still taking time to get used to. Joshua joined alongside Nathan Durek as per usual. So the Vancouver Whitecaps still struggling with the attack. Reason to panic? Not really, but the hand is above the panic button. I'll say that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a couple of games here. We can start with LAFC on the weekend. All in all, it was actually a pretty decent attack from the Whitecaps. The Whitecaps actually outpaced LAFC in shots 21-5. So they are finding shots. The problem is finding high quality shots. A lot of those are coming from, in and around that 18-yard box mark. You're trying to get more and more in there. I thought they played a better game, but they're struggling with goals from open play. In the last 3 games, if we include also the Leagues Cup game that just happened, they have only 1 goal in those 3 games, and it was the penalty by Thomas Muller that was in this game against LAFC.
Yeah, first half, it was one-way traffic for the Whitecaps. Brian White was denied a couple times, I believe, by Hugo Lloris. There was one where he was in tight, denied by Hugo Lloris, one where he did score but was offside.
Yeah.
They were...
And it was legitimately offside.
Yeah, he was legitimately offside. They were buzzing around the box, but they couldn't really break down the LAFC defenders. And then one mistake from Tristan Blackman loses it to Danny Bouanga. And then you find Son, who turns and beats away Takaoka.
And that's all you need. And that was the only shot LAFC had in that entire 45 minutes.
Yeah. That's LAFC for you. They like to sit back, but they like to go into transition, and all they need is one moment.
Problem with LAFC is they are very, very calm when they don't have the ball. They don't require the ball because they know when they have it, they're lethal. So they are completely fine letting teams have loads and loads of the ball. All they do is they just keep them around the periphery.
Yeah. And it just, feels like the Whitecaps were going up against an LAFC team that knew that the Whitecaps would be attacking, and they were fine with just sitting back and trying to go on to the transitions. Things got slowly better in the second half. They were moving the ball around, but again, weren't creating enough chances to test Lloris. But Thomas Muller was yanked in the box, easy penalty, and he converts.
Yeah. It's one of those ones I think that also Muller orchestrates a little bit. Yes, he is yanked, but in the way that he's able to position himself. And we know that he is a master at finding those moments of space, or in those moments when that space is being compromised and still being able to make something out of it. Yeah, legitimate penalty. I think it's one of those ones where even if it wasn't called, I don't think it would have been overturned by VAR. But the fact that you got it, spells, at least that's the opportunity. The one thing I will say in this game is with Brian White, is he was a lot more visible in this game. Yes, he had the goal that was denied, but he also had numerous other chances where we didn't see that in previous matches, largely being not, I wouldn't say invisible, but not getting the service that he actually requires. We were seeing the ball get to him, which was actually nice to see. There were a lot of positives in this game, and I think one of the other positives we can talk about will be Oliver Larraz. But in terms of White, in terms of the attack, in terms of service, it was there. The frustration is just not getting that final touch.
Yeah, it's the final third that was an issue. And then, Oliver Larraz, best game as a Whitecap, everywhere, dictating play alongside Andres Kubis, was actually pretty good defensively. Set-piece delivery was on point. But unfortunately, his service couldn't really, be on the head of Brian White or any other the attackers. And yeah, it felt like one of those games where the Whitecaps should have won. LAFC were content with the point. They weren't really attacking too much in the second half, though. Son had that one chance where he was on a breakaway, but he missed and was offside anyway.
The thing, it's kind of funny because we talk about Oliver Larraz and maybe, I wouldn't say questionable service off set pieces, but when we're evaluating the Whitecaps and set pieces, we're still going back to Sebastian Berhalter, right? And just how good he was at set pieces. Take a look at Berhalter's very first game with Middlesbrough and that corner kick he had that led to a goal. I mean, it was a 3-3 game, and he had 2 assists in that game and was instrumental in setting up the link-up play for the third goal. That's what the Whitecaps are missing right now. Don't expect Larraz to fit in there, but in the last 2 matches, he has done very well. The LAFC match, he was tied for the most touches on the pitch.
Yeah.
He is creating those links, but he needs to be honed in. That kind of exuberant energy that he has, it still needs to be honed in.
Yeah, he's obviously not Sebastian Berhalter. He's more of a 6 than an 8. Because his profile is more similar to Kubis, but he did well against LAFC. And other than the goal that was given, there's some nervy moments, like where the passes were not great. The turf definitely played a factor. But shutting down LAFC, not letting Bouanga, Son, and Schaffelberg create more, I guess that is one positive.
I will say that you can also put credits to Tate Johnson and Idir Ocampo. Ocampo, again, I would say arguably one of his better games of the season as well. Was really, really good at limiting Bouanga. Was also lethal in how he brought the ball up on the right side of the pitch. He actually had the most dribbles out of any player on the pitch on that match. This was more of a frustrating game than anything else because it seemed like the 3 points were deserved. It just couldn't happen. And it goes back to one of 2 age-old problems that the Whitecaps have. One, we've talked about it before, breaking down a low block. And unable to break down that low block feeds into the other problem is the lack of kind of attacking prowess right now. It's there. We see it in the number of chances that were created, but we're not getting those clear-cut chances that actually lead to goals. This game is another one of those as well, where you're buzzing around, you're dominant on possession, you're doing everything you can, but getting that final touch or that final piece of service.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you're a possession-based side and you win a lot and score a lot of goals. Teams will slowly start to figure out. It's been a thing this whole season. Last season, breaking down low blocks wasn't a big problem, but it definitely is this time around. In LAFC, we're playing like a mid to low block. As I said, they were more reliant on their speed up front, and should also mention the substitutes, Sabali and Emmanuel Sabi. They did bring new life into the game when they came on. And also worth mentioning, Ryan Gauld had his first start at BC Place in over a year. First time he ever started with Thomas Muller. Looked decent.
Didn't they say it was 501 days or something like that?
Yeah, I took the joint most shots in the game.
Yeah,
Ryan Gauld.
I don't really know what else there is to say about this game, more than you get the point, but you leave frustrated. And even though you were coming from behind, you still felt you deserved more. It is LAFC as well, right? Tied. They're going into this game. They were both tied in a 3-way tie, also with the Earthquakes for top of the West. Earthquakes dropped points that day, so now it's still a 2-way tie on the top. And I think the other thing we need to say is that the problem with breaking down low blocks isn't a Whitecaps problem. It's a football problem. It's numerous teams have this difficulty. Whitecaps are just one of many right now. And this is one of the reasons why you brought in a player like Bruno Caicedo that has the speed to get in behind those lines before that low block has a chance to get back. With him out of the lineup, that hurts as well.
Yeah, that was a game where Bruno Caicedo's speed would have benefited. He probably would have made life difficult for Ryan Hollingshead, but unfortunately,
and we've seen that before with Hollingshead, where if you can aggravate a player like him, we saw it with Ali Ahmed when he was here, right? You can puncture holes within that defensive line. Those pieces just weren't here, right? You're not going to get that out of a Czech Sabali who wants to more, take players 1v1, which, to marginal success, whether or not it happens, it's not going to happen against an LAFC side. Yeah, that's Sabali too. Again, we've seen moments from him. Yeah.
But they're so little and just hasn't really offered a whole lot so far as a Whitecap, I'd say.
I agree. I don't really have much to say about Savali. His injury didn't help things. It definitely hurt to begin with. It was kind of like Jadon Nelson, where at the very, very beginning, it seemed like there was flashes. He got a couple of goals early on with the Whitecaps, but there's been very, very little ever since.
Yeah, at least Nelson had the explosive speed. Sabali doesn't have that.
He had the explosive speed, but then he would stop all that speed to cut inside.
Yeah. Sabali, tries to cut inside, but he loses the ball pretty easily. And speaking of, last night, Leagues Cup, Atlante, based out of Mexico City, the Iron Colts, I believe they're called, led by head coach Miguel Herrera, who famously coached Mexico during the 2014 World Cup, coached a number of Liga MX teams, and most recently the head coach of Costa Rica. They come into BC Place and beat the Whitecaps 1-0. Again, same story. Whitecaps can't break down a low block. Atlante were playing like a back five, almost felt like 6 or 7 in the box, but we're barely testing their goalkeeper.
Yeah, this is another game with absolute dominant possession. The Whitecaps had almost 70% of the ball throughout the match, but the quality of chances were very few and far between. And I know you get a lot of those calls from fans of shoot, but a lot of times those calls are coming when they're still 20, 22, 25 yards out. And at that point, shooting is just wasting the ball. You need to find ways to move inside the box and have that level of control. And I don't know, we're going to be a broken record here when we're talking about low blocks. And you're right, like they were set up as a back five. In attack, those wing backs did move up high on the pitch, but once they had their goal in the 40th minute from Julio, they didn't really need to do a whole lot else. Now, let's be honest. Julio could have had 2 more goals in that second half and got very, very lucky that both goals went shy just by inches of the post. But again, another one where the Whitecaps needed to do more with the possession they had.
Yeah, and Julio, he pretty much turned around Laborda and then beat Isaac Boehmer for the only goal of the game in the 40th minute. Whitecaps played a heavily rotated lineup. Just as Jesper Sorensen said about that, he said roster limitations and the tight schedule, which I kind of get. So Kubis was captain alongside Oliver Larraz, but it was nice to see Ralph Priso and Sam Adekube back starting. Nikola Djordjevic, JC Ngannou, Czech Sabali, and Rayan Alumi were the 4 starters in attack, and they just simply weren't good enough.
No. I didn't know. The only times I noticed Ngannou were on his errant passes. Passes that could not get completed, and not from a lack of just getting picked off, but almost it seemed like he was passing straight to the opposition, which was really, really frustrating to watch. You noticed the frustration even showing up in Rayan Alumi in the fact that he was dropping so far back just to get touches on the ball. Problem is when you have a lone striker that's dropping so far back, you turn around, you're looking for outlets. You're supposed to be the outlet, and you're not there anymore. So I would say the lack of anything from Ngannou, the Whitecaps were doing a disservice to themselves and pulling themselves out of shape. It was nothing that Atlante was doing.
Yeah, Alumi just wasn't getting the service there, but when he did, first touch and all that, he did have that one chance in the first half, but it was right at Jimenez.
Yeah.
Ngannou, he looked good off the bench against Cincinnati in that 10, but not against Atlante. Just was giving the ball away. The passes were all errant. Just wasn't that greater the Whitecaps needed.
Whitecaps needed that spark. They didn't get into the second half. One, bringing on Emmanuel Sabi created a bit of a spark very, very early on with 2 good chances to begin the second half. And then later on, when Thomas Müller came in, started to actually bring some sort of creativity into that number 10 role. There was the transition where they kind of moved out of their system, went to a 4-4-2, bringing on Brian White and having those 2 attackers to try and break down a 5-man back line. At that point, when they're sitting so far back, it's almost like 7, is absolutely necessary. And it's something where you're taking a look at this team and seeing how they're setting up with so many bodies there. When you have only Illumi and only one man that's really attacking all those bodies, there's not a whole lot you can do. I kind of wanted a bit of a tactical change earlier on, but it just unfortunately never happened.
Yeah, it was Sorensen, did Abbey, Blackman, and Johnson at halftime. Muller in earlier, but it's no matter what they tried. Atlante were just fine sitting back, and final third was pretty atrocious from the Whitecaps, and
here's when I talk about the lack of creativity. Put it this way: Ngondo was disappeared so much for me that the most creative player, the player that created the most chances, was Larraz. Larraz created the most chances out of any player on the pitch, and he did that from a defensive midfield position. Not saying you can't do that; you can be a deep lying playmaker, but that's when you're playing with players where you have players in positions that are meant to be the creators and they're not doing the job. You end up with a gaping hole in the middle of your attack.
Oh yeah. By the way, Larraz was again the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, 2 games in a row. Very, very impressive.
Yeah. Not the Berhalter replacement, but he did a good job with the service and the defensive work he did. He and Kubis, by the way, were the best players on the pitch. Same with Ocampo, carried the ball into the box, but no one was there for the service.
I understand your comment when you asked Jesper about squad rotation and all that. Leagues Cup is coming in very fast and furious. You had a game on Tuesday. Your next game's not even on the weekend. It's on Friday. Like it's every 3 days in this kind of phase 1 opening 3 matches that you have. So the rotation is absolutely necessary, especially when you're still getting players back from injury and you have other players that aren't back at all. I thought it was really, really nice to see Adekube and Priso get 45 minutes on the pitch, get some good minutes to bring them back. Obviously, those changes of those 2 players at the half, that was planned. But I thought they did okay. While Adekube was playing for those first 45, he was actually one of the most visible players on the pitch in terms of, creating danger through that left channel. I thought once he went off, and then in the second half, you had Sabali move over to the right. Oh, sorry, Sabali leave, Sabi take the right, and Djordjevic move over to the left. Djordjevic and Tate Johnson, it was a little bit that left-sided prowess kind of disappeared a little bit. And I don't know if it's just because you have 2 very, very young players on that side that maybe just don't have a lot of time playing together. I'm not too sure, but it did feel like something got lost a little bit there. Sabi definitely became the attacking piece in the second half. And to his credit, tried to make something happen. But it was just, again, what are you going to do against a team that just sits back and is just content with the 1 goal, especially when the Whitecaps, and you got to be honest that Atlante is watching the Whitecaps and seeing what is frustrating them leading into this match. So putting that many players that far back, you knew that was going to be coming. The other thing I think we should talk about, and that hasn't been talked about at all, is that Liga MX is just starting. There are only 2 matches into the Apertura of their season. So this is a very, very fresh team. There are not really that many injuries to deal with. They've had a summer off. They're also coming off a very, very big 3-2 win off Cruz Azul. They haven't lost yet. They have a draw and a win. This is a team that is ready to go. The Whitecaps, honestly, should be at the same position. They had a lot of time off with the World Cup, but they do have more games that have been played very rapidly. And I don't know. There still seems to, at times, be a little bit of lethargy in the squad.
Yeah, it feels like this is a team coming off preseason. Atlante has won a game, drawn a game, and lost a game.
Oh, they have lost one. Sorry, I thought it was just the 2.
Yeah. As you said, they came off a 3-2 win over Cruz Azul.
Yeah.
Their city rivals, if you want to call it that. and feels like since the World Cup break, the Whitecaps have only one win, and that was against Cavalry at Swangard.
Yeah, they're winless in 5.
Yeah,
In all competitions, they're winless in 5.
and I believe there's only one goal in the last 3 games for them.
And that was the penalty. No goals in open play.
Yeah, they did. Last time they scored was open play was in Cincinnati, and that wild 4-3 loss.
Yeah, and I mean that was just fun for the neutrals.
Yeah, again, low blocks have been an issue, and it's not just Berhalter leaving; it's the attack in general. Obviously, Savi's not 100%. Caicedo's out. Gault's still getting back to fitness. White is having on one of his quiet
moments. Yeah,
quiet patches.
That's I think one of the things that kind of, I would say maybe irks me a little bit is this whole belief that you need the Berhalter replacement. The Berhalter replacement will solve all. That's the magic sauce. It's not just that. It's a combination of things. Yes, getting an experienced player in midfield that can be that more of a 6th link, a true box to box guy, absolutely will help. But don't expect that to be the be all end all. There's a lot more that needs to happen with this as well.
Yeah, and let's not forget Thomas Muller's not the be all end all.
Exactly.
Given his stature, and he's been okay, just okay in these last few games.
So many people, when they comment on Thomas Muller, are talking about what he does with the ball. You have to watch him when he doesn't have the ball. That's where you get the Thomas Muller that we saw with Bayern Munich. It's that work that he does. And yes, I agree with you to an extent that he has had kind of moments in games where he has disappeared a little bit, but I feel that some of the criticism is a little bit harsh just because we're so naturally inclined to watch people who have possession of the ball. And Muller does his best work when he doesn't have it. So
yeah, when he tries to find those spaces.
Or watching him direct players, like he is pointing all over the pitch. He's a frontline general.
Yeah, and he's shouting at players to get in position, move the ball.
Yeah.
Man, like the Whitecaps did have chances. Like I mentioned, the Illumi chance. Laborda had one free header, but he headed it over the bar. He usually puts those in.
I thought that was the best chance of the game, actually.
Yeah, Sabi did have that one chance, I believe, from Larraz, but his first touch failed him.
Yeah.
And it went right to Jimenez.
You also talked about the LAFC matches with passes that were just kind of just not quite connecting. Happening in this game as well. The number of passes that were actually behind players really, really frustrated me to watch. Because the thing is they're not being intercepted. They're not being picked off. It's just that you're passing to where the player was, not where they're going to be.
Yeah, I felt like the passes were more egregious in this game than the LAFC game because
I think so too. Yeah,
way more turnovers. And again, you might say the new turf. Yeah, but that's not an excuse.
It's a factor. Don't get me wrong. It's a factor. You got to get used to the new turf that's in there. That happens. But yeah, so I will concede that point.
Yeah. So Whitecaps will play FC Juarez on Friday at BC Place. I won't be at that one. Nathan won't be at either. He'll be on vacation.
Yeah.
And then they go to Monterrey to play Tigres, our old foes.
Yeah.
That should be.
Remember when it seemed like every year we were playing Tigres, at least in whether it was Champions Cup or Leagues Cup, like it seemed like 3 years in a row. It was like if you're going to play any team in Mexico, it was going to be Tigres.
Yeah, and last time these two teams faced was that epic penalty shootout where Nahuel Guzman had those Emi Martinez like antics in Leagues Cup, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and FC Juarez. Let me just take a look at them here.
That will be new competition for the Whitecaps, I believe. Just like Atlante.
Just like Atlante. They beat Minnesota last night 2-1.
Yeah. So
they're winless right now in Liga MX.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
0-3, so 3 losses, and that was their first win of the season.
Gotcha. decent news. We can probably move on. Whitecaps have actually picked up a new signing, Kwasi Poku, coming out of Belgium. He is a Canadian international, started his career with the Toronto Academy, played for a number of years in the CPL with Forge before moving over to Belgium with RWD Molenbeek. This is a player that Whitecaps actually tried to pick him up when he was still playing in Canada, but he had his eyes set on Europe, and obviously if that's going to happen, you let him go. This is not a signing that the Whitecaps expected, but with Molenbeek right now dealing through financial difficulties and having to balance books and get rid of players, Whitecaps were able to jump up and get a player that they've looked at for a number of years.
They were relegated. Relegated to the third tier.
Yeah.
Due to financial difficulties.
Significantly right now with them. So they're shedding players right now. Whitecaps are able to jump up on that and get a young quality striker that hopefully they can develop. And he's Canadian, right?
One cap.
He does have, I want to say, one cap.
Just one.
Yeah. It was a friendly, I want to say, against Panama.
Something like that. I can't remember.
He's injured right now, out with a bit of a hamstring. So obviously it's not a player that's ready right away. This is also not the young player that Axel Schuster had said that they had been looking at to come in sometime this August. We had an opportunity to talk with Axel on Friday. He said they're still looking at two players right now, one young, one experienced. Both these players did not play in the World Cup that just occurred. So if you've got Sakio in your mind,
not Goretzka, not Freuler, who I mentioned last week,
not those.
Yeah,
it does sound like they are closer on the younger player than they are on the experienced player right now. The younger player they were hoping to have in for maybe some of these Leagues Cup matches. We'll have to wait and see. The experienced player could be further down the transfer window. And the other thing you also have to remember is the transfer window for MLS aligns more with the international transfer window this year, as where it didn't in previous years. So they have a bit more time to get things done.
Yeah. Poku, 6 goals and 31 appearances with RWDM Brussels. Streaky scorer with Forge, 2-time Canadian Premier League winner. Was good with Forge.
Yeah.
Product of TFC's academy. So he seems like a streaky type of guy, but can also play left back and central midfield.
You also got to remember that he was on a team that just got relegated. So you got to wonder what the service was that he was getting. Obviously, it's not like we know too much about the second division of Belgium, but the fact that they're moving into the third, it does leave you wondering.
Yeah. He's fast, intelligent, and he can score. So good for striker depth. And someone reported from the Tunnel Club, the new Tunnel Club down at BC Place, that Axel did speak to the fans there before the game against LAFC. He hinted at the experienced player being a big signing.
Yeah.
And he did hint to us that it could possibly be exciting.
Yeah. He did mention at least on Friday at the time that there were 3 players that they are talking to for that kind of experience. One definitely seems to be further along than everything else. It kind of seems like almost like agreement is there with the player. It's just working, the transfer fees and all that stuff. And obviously when it comes to MLS, you're not just dealing with the Whitecaps and the team that you're negotiating with, you're also dealing with MLS.
Yeah.
So that always throws an added wrench into things as well and makes things take a little bit longer. That's what you get with, a single entity league system.
Yeah, and I would assume this is the midfielder, the experienced player. I don't know what Axel's definition of big is. Maybe he's really tall. Who knows?
Yeah.
I have no guesses. I have no intel. Who knows who this could be?
Well, especially in hearing that it's not a player that played for the World Cup previously, that's
not in this one.
I think that kind of throws at least a lot of the speculation that fans had and that media had as well wide open, right? Because a lot of the names that we were suggesting obviously had just come from the World Cup.
Yeah, and they're not. It's neither of those.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It could possibly be announced tomorrow, the next day.
I have a feeling this experienced player is still further down the road.
Yeah, but things could pick up, and signings, you never know. They just come out of nowhere. Can't come soon enough because the Whitecaps need that box-to-box creative midfielder in their setup.
Yeah.
So a bit of, I guess it's a major update regarding the Whitecaps and their ownership situation. So former Vancouver Canucks and Vancouver Grizzlies owner Arthur Griffiths, reported by Dan Murphy of Sportsnet, who is very close with Arthur Griffiths, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if his source was Griffiths himself. Was reportedly interested in buying the Vancouver Whitecaps, but obviously he wouldn't be the majority owner given his financial situation. He'd be part of a consortium.
Yeah. So Dan Murphy put out a tweet talking about, or very briefly saying, talking about the information that he had about this. I agree with you. The source probably is Griffiths himself, knowing the close relationship that the two have. We even speculated on our last show about the ownership. Obviously, the information on Griffiths, the name wasn't there really yet. This didn't come out really until the very end of July on the 31st. Even speaking with Axel on Friday,
he was hush-hush.
Yeah, it's very, very tight-lipped. So while we're getting information on the bidding side, we're not getting information from the Whitecaps. We're not getting information from obviously we haven't gotten any information from Goldman Sachs, who is overseeing the whole bid process. They're radio silent on absolutely everything. So all we have really to go on is the information from Griffiths themselves and this kind of ever presence that he has at Whitecaps matches. Here's the good. It's a local bid.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He was reported to be interested.
As far as... Sorry, go ahead.
And Matt Sakaris Price yesterday said that he's not part of a local group that he and Blake Price are aware of. And there is also another competing local group and another local group that's been rejected.
Yeah.
That's Sakaris' words, not mine.
Well, the thing is, and the one thing, and Axel even said it as late as on Friday, is the one thing that's really hampering any sort of bid, whether it's local or from elsewhere, is the stadium situation. And there has been no news on the stadium situation. They met throughout the World Cup. There's been a couple of meetings since the World Cup. And basically, the only thing that comes out of these meetings is to agree to have more meetings. The like I said, I'm happy there is a local bid. I do have a little bit of reservations on Griffiths and the whole idea of the consortium. And I'm going to admit full bias here in consortium bids. I go back to my time when I grew up in Edmonton and the consortium bid that basically took over the Whitecaps, or no, the Whitecaps, the Edmonton Oilers, and basically just kept them on life support until you could actually get an actual owner to come in. And you basically had a decade and a half of barely breathing. My fear is that a consortium bid is that as well, especially if you have someone like Griffiths who isn't going to be the biggest shareholder in terms of financial backing, but seems to be positioning himself as arguably a chairperson. I do wonder how toothless that might be.
Yeah. You might remember, if you're old enough, that he was the guy that pretty much had Rogers Arena built, then called GM Place, brought the NBA to Vancouver with the Grizzlies, but we all know how that went. He sold it to John McCaw Jr. along with the Canucks. And then McCaw Jr. sold the Canucks to Aquilini, which I guess was the start of the downfall. And
well, I mean, the thing is, I'd still argue that the downfall of the Grizzlies almost started with him as well, because before McCaw, he was trying to sell to a guy in St. Louis that was going to move the team, and that fell through. I get that, because the ownership groups basically, put a kibosh on that. But the fact that it went to McCaw and McCaw did nothing, it ended up getting sent to, what was the guy's name?
To Michael
Hensley,
Heisley, and then he
yeah,
deceived everyone and moved the team to Memphis.
it was within a year, right? So,
yeah. I mean, the Grizzlies were doomed to fail from the start.
Yeah, and that's just it. Now, don't get me wrong. Griffiths led the charge for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Right? Fantastic. Got that here. But the Olympics, you're not really dealing with anything that has any sort of longevity. You're dealing with something that's going to be here and take over everything for a month, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
This is something that if you're going to be in, you have to be in for the long haul. He's not the guy. He's not a long haul guy to me.
How old is this guy? Like, he's oldish.
Griffiths?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, the fact that he's been around and he was doing business. I mean, his family took over the Canucks in 1974.
Yeah.
So.
And then he took over once his father passed, I guess.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, he's been in and around a lot of the stuff for a long time. I mean, the fact that, you're with the Grizzlies, he was leading the charge with getting the Grizzlies into Vancouver. That's what, 94, 95?
Yeah.
So you think of all the legwork that has to be done in years previous to that. I'm going to say he's got to be 60s.
Yeah, Patrick Johnson on Seth Garrison Price mentioned that Griffiths has business connections everywhere. So, that has the legs for the ownership group with him and international ownership. So again, it's a lot of
Griffiths. The thing about Griffiths is not a lot is known about his net worth, but there's more published about his financial liabilities than his net worth, and that scares me as well.
Yeah, well, it depends on how much share he owns. Probably like 5%. Yeah. If let's say this all goes through, and I don't know, he and some private overseas business become the new Whitecaps owners, the way Kerfoot and Mallet is minority owners. He'd be like Todd Bowley for Chelsea.
Yeah.
The face of the ownership group, but he's a minority investor.
Look, I'm happy that a local bid came through. I'm not 100%. I'm very, very far from 100% sold on it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain.
And on top of this, absolutely, this is just the team. Again, like Axel said on Friday, nothing has been talked about
no
the stadium.
breakthrough.
And this bid doesn't mention anything about stadium either, right? It doesn't mention, like, are they looking at trying to figure something out and stay at PC Place? Are they now looking to build their own thing? Like, hasn't even been discussed.
Yeah, I would assume NDAs have been assigned and all that. There are talks behind the scenes, but I don't know how close they are because we're not in closed doors. But, regarding the Caps and potential relocation, Vegas is cooled, according to Patrick Johnston in one of his articles from a few weeks ago. I will say this, given the Whitecaps had season ticket renewals for next year's sprint season and the 27-28 season, I would assume that a BC Place bridge deal is somewhat close.
And hope so. Right now, that deal only goes to the end of the season, but my guess is that there's got to be something to at least go for another year, and not just another year, but with the whole transition to the new schedule as well.
Yeah, and given that season ticket renewals have already kind of started,
yeah,
it points to the sign that the Caps are staying for at least another 2 years. Take this with a grain of salt, but someone told me a few weeks ago, this is like minor information, like bird food, that the Caps staff, and BC Play staff rather, are already told to prepare for next year. Yeah. Or have been already told. And another hint, the chief commercial officer told us, was mentioning next year for the Tunnel Club and all that. So that's another hint. And the Caps are also looking at multiple job openings. So relocation is very unlikely. My sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of that information out there where you can read a lot into it, and of course we will. But as far as anything concrete,
it's not concrete, but the hints go to show the team is staying for at least another year or two.
Yeah.
That I would say BC Place bridge deal is somewhat close.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, here's hoping. So that's the Whitecaps. The other Vancouver team down on Boundary Road. Thriller lost. 4-3 lost to the Montreal Roses last Wednesday. Lisa Pachursky, the former Vancouver Rise, a goal and 2 assists against her old team.
Yeah, definitely came back to haunt the Rise. This was a difficult one to watch. The injury list for the Rise outpaces the Whitecaps right now. So let's put it that way.
It's on par.
There is a lot of, and especially that back line, when you look at like Faulkner out, Wooler still out, a number of other players. The Rise played with a 3-player back line, and the only player in there that was really had true experience was Tumeth, who is brand new to the Rise, an absolute quality center back, but it's difficult for her to kind of do everything on her own. On either side of her, you had Jalen Wright, who's a right back being repurposed as a center back right now, and you had Mila Iwaziak, a 16, 17-year-old academy
17
product.
years old. Yeah.
Right? So, and the thing is you could see how the Roses were playing. So they were attacking down, I guess, their right channel. A lot of people were looking at saying that they were really attacking through Okamoto, but it wasn't Okamoto. It was Iwaziak. They were looking at Iwaziak, unfortunately, as the weak link due to inexperience. And while they were able to get past Okamoto, because those wingbacks were basically being told not even to play as wingbacks, but almost as like slightly defensive-minded wingers, they were so far up and forward that they were leaving those side center backs exposed. And Iwaziak's going to learn. She's young. She's at the very beginning of her career. But if you're not coming in behind to cover your wing back, the amount of space that you're creating to just get a ball in behind a player like Okamoto and have your wingers run in there, you're giving them acres of space. And then at that point, it's just a matter of crossing the ball in. It was...
Okamoto got injured. So that's another name to the injured list.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see the extent of that right now. Not too sure. But if Okamoto is on that injured list as well, that just adds to a laundry list of injuries that the Rise are having to deal with. Again, a game for the neutrals, but very, very difficult. It was nice to see Lopez get on the scoring sheet very, very early on. Again, a goal created by Ilarbi. Ilarbi is a player that's really come into form, I would say, in the last little while.
Yeah.
Had a goal herself as well, but again, taken off at the half. This is a player that hasn't really managed the 90 minutes over the past little while, even though they have looked one of the lone bright spots.
Yeah, and the Rise were scoring goals, but defensive issues. Again,
there needs to be, my hope is that they look at bringing in another quality player in that back line, a center back to play with Tumeth. Wooler, I know she was training with the team. Last I saw at training, she was wearing the yellow pennies for non-contact. But I mean, it's been what? She's been out over a year now.
Yeah, long time.
So it's I would say reinforcements are needed with this team, and we know exactly where they are needed.
Yeah, the back line, because the injury list continues to pile up.
Right now, where the Rise are, every team has played 14 matches. We're getting into kind of like the tail end of the last third of the season. The Rise are on the outside looking in on the playoffs right now.
Yep.
And I mean, when you've got 4 out of 6 teams that qualify for the playoffs and you're the defending champions, that's not good.
Yeah, it's not good enough. I believe the Rise play on the 8th, this Saturday at Swangard. Against who is it? Calgary, who are at the bottom, still without a win, I believe.
Remind me, is this also the match that also doubles as that new Canadian championship on the women's side?
I'm not too sure.
I think it might be, which
it might be.
Talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't beat a last place team,
yeah,
got serious problems.
Calgary's gone through some pains as well. I mean, they brought in a brand new coach at the beginning of the season when Lydia Bedford went back to England. So yeah, I don't really know if that's paying dividends right now.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a look at the standings in the NSL table. Yeah, Calgary are 0-2-12.
Yeah,
which is 2 points.
Yeah, I mean that's not
damning. Vancouver 5-1-8, 16 points, 2 points behind Halifax, and 8 points behind AFC Toronto.
Yeah.
All right, so back to MLS. Big news. So LAFC co-owner Larry Berg has been chosen to succeed Don Garber as the new MLS commissioner. He will take over, I believe, in January.
Yeah. We knew that this was coming for a while. It was between him and it was a TV exec, I believe. I can't remember. The name escapes me. But, I mean, Berg, he's been in and around the game, obviously, as a co-owner with LAFC. I do wonder, does he have to sell his shares? I'm assuming. I would assume you have to if you're going to be a commissioner of the entire league. So, good on him. I don't know a whole lot about Berg. I would definitely have to take a look into him. But in his opening remarks in taking over, he said basically that there is a lot of good to work with. It doesn't seem like he's a guy that really wants to set his stamp right away. I think he seems to be a guy that wants to get in there, see how things operate, let things kind of go for a while before he tailors things his way, which I'm fine with. You know, I'd rather someone comes into a situation and learns first before they try to upset everything.
Yeah, but in his opening remark, he said, we got a good foundation. Now it's time to build, and he will be listening over the next couple months regarding everything. And then he was asked about promotion, but he said, it's not a good way to build this league in particular. Dude, he mentioned like the jeopardy is quite severe and all that. So promotion relegation remains a pipe.
It's not the jeopardy that's severe. It's the court cases that would come out of it that are severe.
Yeah, because all these teams are franchises.
They're franchises. You pay $500 million to be a part of a league, and all of a sudden they tell you might not be a part of it. I'm sorry, but you're going to have clubs suing like crazy.
Yeah, so Berg will be the third MLS commissioner since Don Garber has been in charge since 1999.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what he will do, especially with MLS moving to the new calendar. And so we mentioned last week about like salary flexibility. I think he'd, definitely have a say. He would definitely have a say in that.
Yeah.
And we'll see where it goes.
Pretty much.
So, there have been links to big signings in MLS. Mo Salah was linked to MLS clubs, but he's such a sign with Trabzonspor of all teams in Turkey. Romelu Lukaku is linked to Atlanta United, who they just loaned out Latte Laugh, who has just been a flop.
Yeah.
And LA Galaxy needs some reinforcements after selling Gabriel Peck and other guys. So they look to San Diego and Chucky Lozano on loan, as Tom Boyer reported.
This kind of, he's on a free.
It's a loan.
But this kind of is, the guy can score goals, but is he going to be good in that locker room?
Especially where has he barely played like the past few months because
he hasn't
off pitch issues.
Yeah, he was basically told to go away.
Yeah. So this is a weird one. And the
Yeah.
Galaxy fans are obviously not happy with this.
Galaxy fans are up in, like, they're, lighting fires over this.
Likely DP as well.
I'm sorry, but with
He
your
hasn't played
LA
since last
Galaxy
year,
and
too.
you tell me that you can't find someone, I don't want to say better, but I mean, yeah, that's the word that I'm going to stick with is you can't find someone else.
Can't find someone else to replace Peck and all that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. MLS can sometimes deliver entertainment, just not in the ways that you expect.
Yeah, and fact San Diego are willing to let him go to a rival team just to get rid of him shows the character.
I don't know. Maybe this is just their version of a Trojan horse.
Yeah, and 31 years old Lozano has not played since the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like this Galaxy downfall is crazy.
Yeah.
Since they won MLS Cup.
Especially with everything that happened last year and how long it took them to just get a win. And the fact that even within that, they still renewed Greg Vanney's contract, but you've got another year of just basically just barely moving by. How much license does Greg Vanney get before you just say, like, look, it's just not working?
12th in the Western Conference, 5-7-7.
Yeah.
Couldn't beat Dallas on the weekend. 0-0.
And they're still doing better than they were last year.
Yeah, but Galaxy have not been fun to watch this year.
No.
So I have no idea what they're doing here. One of the weirdest transfers. Well, it's not done, but Bogert said it's close.
This is throwing something against the wall and just hoping it sticks. Like, I don't see a recruitment plan here that is made out of something that makes sense.
I wonder who, it feels like the Galaxy boardroom just, took one of those, darts boards.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
And hit Lozano.
And then they said no, threw it again, it landed on him again, and they said, okay, fine.
So San Diego now have an open DP spot, and I believe they're linked to Kevin De Bruyne.
They've been linked to
That'd
Kevin
be
De
big for them.
Bruyne since that club started.
Yeah. Would like him here, but since he said some nice things about Vancouver, but
yeah,
that's not happening.
No.
Anyway, I don't know what Galaxy are doing here, because what is this?
Look, the only people that know what Galaxy are doing right now are in that room with Galaxy, and I'm willing to bet half the people in that room don't even know what's going on.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move over to Europe. Preseason continues. Chelsea lost 2-1 in Sydney, thanks to a Richarlison last-minute winner. They actually played today, too. Lost 1-0 to Juventus in Hong Kong.
Yeah. First game with Mudryk back, too, right?
Yeah, more on that later, but they made Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck official. Both, I believe, are on 2-year contracts. Got the experience for that locker room. Danny Welbeck can come off the bench and score goals. He can stop scoring against Chelsea now. Jordan Henderson is there for locker room support. He'll just play cup games and barely any league games, and hope he doesn't get injured on the bench.
Yeah, keep him away from ad boards.
Yeah, just keep him on the bench, and yeah, he'll be good. Both guys will be good for the locker room. I like it. So Chelsea are making another bid for Rayo Vallenco. More on them later and their situation. A left back, Pep Chavarria. Alonso really wants this guy. They originally want 40 million plus, but this time the bid is around 16.2 million plus add-ons. David Ornstein reported yesterday that a deal is close. So
if they wanted 40 and you're going 16 plus add-ons, man, you're getting him at a cut rate deal.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what's going on, but it feels like Vallenco is willing to let him go. It seems like Chavarria really wants to move.
I think Vallenco just needs the money. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, this guy is a speedy left back, 5'9". Like Cucurella, he can be kind of a rage baiter. And he's what Xabi Alonso needs. and he's good at carrying the ball as well. Speaking of guys who have space, Mudryk is back. His 4-year doping ban has been rescinded. He played 20 minutes today against Juventus, and I think he looked fine. Let's not forget, this guy was inconsistent before his doping ban started. He hasn't played in like 2 years or whatever it was. So I think he should go out on loan. Seems like the plan is to loan him to Strasbourg. But apparently Coventry want him. But Chelsea would rather loan him to Strasbourg, which I think makes a lot of sense. So he can get his feet wet back into playing competitive football. Plus Chelsea have a healthy Jamie Gittins and Morgan Rogers now on that left side. So there's not really any room for him.
Yeah.
Just so, you know what? Welcome back, I guess. Go out on loan. See what you can do. And speaking of players out, Trevor Chalobah has been sold to Como, as reported by Fabrizio Romano. Well, thanks for everything. Good servant, academy graduate. Was never had problems with attitude when he was left out of the squad. He'll do well in Serie A under Cesc Fabregas at Como. And all the best to Trevor Chalobah. Had his moments. Wasn't that great these past couple of seasons. Made so many defensive mistakes, but 30 million, you take it. It seems like there is a mass exodus of defenders. As Fabrizio Romano says, Axel Disasi is on his way out, as Crystal Palace has submitted a loan with an obligation to buy. So, Lacroix for Axel Disasi, good deal. And Benoit Badiashile is apparently joining Napoli on loan. I guess with an obligation to buy as well. And then Tosin could leave, according to Fabrizio Romano. And he has lots of interest. Might as well get rid of him since Cole Palmer has his buddy Morgan Rogers and he has Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck to take care of him. We can get rid of Uncle Tosin. Just not good enough for this team. And sure, he brings the leadership, but he can do that elsewhere. So if there are suitors, accept the best bid and move on.
Yeah.
Man City have made contact with Pedro Neto. It seems they want to keep him, but they'll listen to like a good offer. And Enzo Maresca apparently wants him there, but Chelsea value him at £70 million. Take 40 or 50. For a guy who has shown he can be good, but it's very frustrating. His football IQ just runs into defenders, loses the ball so easily, holds the ball too long. I don't know. Enzo Maresca wants to reunite with this guy. See ya. Take the highest bid. And apparently, City have been linked to Malo Gusto. Chelsea also value him at $70 million. Just not good enough. Might as well just sell him for the best bid. I'd take 30 million, 40 million. And Enzo Fernandez. Given that Rodri could be on his way to Real Madrid. Speaking of that guy, since everybody hates him now, it seems unlikely he'll leave. His agent is meeting with Chelsea this week to discuss Enzo's plans. So we'll see where this goes. I don't really see any big midfield signing. I don't know if you count Alex Scott as one. Because Chelsea have been linked with him all summer. But Bournemouth are not willing to sell. If Enzo goes, they'll take a big signing in the midfield to replace him. So I just want clarity. Like, will he stay or will he go? Like the Clash song. Should I stay or should I go? So, again, Real Madrid don't want him. They publicly said no. And given that, everybody hates him now, my guess he's staying.
Probably.
Against wishes.
There was a player on Chelsea, I think, after the Spurs friendly. It was talking about wanting him to stay with Chelsea. I can't remember who it was now, but it seems like he's still a big part of Chelsea's locker room.
Yeah, Xabi Alonso wants to keep him.
Yeah.
Given that his Real Madrid saga and all that, I'd strip him from the vice captaincy and give it to Levi Colwill or Moises Caicedo. That'll teach him.
I think he needs a bit of a redemption tour.
Good player, but my God, this guy has just caused problems off the pitch. And then he'll
Do you
always be
think
remembered.
that it's inexperience that comes with youth?
I don't know. It's just, I guess it's
because there's an attitude thing there. You're right, but I'm wondering how much is him or how much of it is just him kind of getting swept up in the storm, right?
Yeah. Well, he still wants to leave, so it's very unlikely now.
I don't see that happening. Yeah,
I don't see it happening.
at least not for the price that Chelsea had initially wanted.
Yeah, and it seems Chelsea were interested in a goalkeeper. Rumors out of Portugal say they want to sign Diogo Costa, who's I've been talking about for years. But Ben Jacobs shut that down this morning, saying Chelsea are happy with Sanchez and Mike Penders. Yeah, sure, Sanchez is a good shot stopper, but again, the ball at his feet. He redeemed himself last year for the most part. But if you can get an upgrade, you might as well get an upgrade. Again, it's up to Xabi Alonso.
Yeah.
And Mike Penders should go out another load, given that he still needs time to develop. But I guess it seems unlikely. It doesn't seem like Chelsea are going for another goalkeeper. But Philip Jorgensen is set to be loaned to Strasbourg, but for some reason, Bluco have trouble negotiating with themselves. I don't know what's the holdup. So maybe they're getting paid by the hour. Who knows? Just get that one done. So Spurs are linked to a bunch of guys, including a guy that Chelsea have and one that Chelsea's been linked to for years.
Yeah. Basically, there's no information on Savinho right now. It's being talked about. It still feels like it's going to get done. It's just a matter of, two teams finally actually deciding to agree on something. We know the transfer request is actually out there, so I'm not too worried about that. Now, De Zerbi did come out talking about that they're about 60% done their transfer business, that they still want big players out there. He said that there is a big bomba out there that they're looking at right now. Take that for whatever it is you're looking at. But we do know right now everything seems to be going all in on getting another striker. Spurs have really seems to be pushing for Liverpool's Cody Gakpo to take that role. Yep. It's going to be interesting to see if Liverpool really wants to let him go. The rumor is they've put a price tag on Gakpo around the 72 to 75 million pound mark. But it also doesn't seem like they really want to let him go anyway.
I feel like that's the case.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. Now, there's two other names that have popped up as potential alternatives. One, no. Nicholas Jackson, who is currently with Chelsea. I don't want this happening. You've spent enough time over the past year talking about what you feel about Nicholas Jackson. So, that's now on me. It does seem like the price tag on Jackson bid would be around 65 million pounds.
That's what they value him.
But I just don't want this player here.
I don't want
I feel like if you bring in Jackson, you're going to get another guy that disappears for long stretches like Kolo Muani.
You're going to get a guy that misses sitters.
That too, right?
Yeah.
The other name that has kind of been attached is Victor Osimhen. Osimhen has been rumored this entire window of coming to the Premier League again. Pardon me. In some form, we'll have to wait and see. Galatasaray, it seems, values him at around 50 million pounds, which is not a bad deal
for a world-class striker.
The problem is going to be his wages.
Where he's on like 350,000.
He's making, I think, about 300K a week right now, which vastly would outpace anyone that Spurs play or is on their roster right now. Are they willing to match that? I don't know.
Higher?
But those are the names that are being attached for that position right now. De Zerbi also has come out just earlier today about Dominic Solanke, saying that he wants to keep Solanke on the squad. If you're bringing in another striker and you've got Solanke, you've got Richarlison, you've got Dane Scarlett, who seems to be in and around the team. It doesn't sound like he's going on loan, although that could change because he seems to be the guy who's perennially out on loan these days. We'll have to wait and see. One guy that does seem like he's going to be heading out on loan again is Mikey Moore. Moore last year, I believe, was with – oh, my God. He was in Scotland. I know he won the Scottish Young Player of the Year. But it does seem like he might be heading out to the Bundesliga with Cologne. I have to wait and see if that happens. Obviously, a guy that I really, really, really like. But, if he's not going to be playing in and around that first team, yes, put him out on loan. I have to wait and see what happens with that. One guy that the Spurs has also really put in the shop window with the games that he has been playing is Manor Solomon. Was also in that Chelsea match in Sydney, did rather well. It does seem like there is interest in him from West Ham. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. There is also interest on kind of mainland Europe. I kind of want them to kind of just sell him outright. I think they've had enough time to evaluate this player, and it's just not really worked out. It's time to move on, kind of cut your losses. But we'll have to wait and see whether or not that happens. There is still interest in Cristiano Romero from Inter Milan, but they need to sell players before they're going to kind of make any bid for him. Atletico Madrid is still in the wings, kind of doing a wait and see. But this is a player that I still feel will leave this transfer window, but it might be closer to the transfer deadline. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it feels inevitable.
Yeah. Information on Dejan Kulishevsky. Sounds like his return to training is going very well. Still waiting to get to match fitness. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a journey for him coming off how bad of an injury he had. Is he going to be the same guy? I don't know. I hope so. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, I mean, Spurs are undefeated in preseason. Take that for whatever it is. Obviously, it's preseason. It doesn't really mean a whole lot, but, promising.
Yeah, that's promising. Our teams need to sell players, especially Chelsea.
I would say Chelsea more than Spurs, but there are players that need to kind of
I still got to laugh.
Yeah.
We mentioned Rayo Vallenco. So they've been kicked out of their own stadium because it's dirty and it's been at risk of forgot the disease name.
Legionnaire's disease.
Yeah, Legionnaire's disease.
Yeah, so they don't own their own stadium. It's owned by the I want to say the municipality, and it's the municipality that's kicked them out because the owner of Vallenco is supposed to operate and manage the stadium, and basically hasn't done anything in years. The stadium is apparently falling apart, garbage everywhere. It's really, really, and the fact that the garbage has been sitting around everywhere. It's that it's in danger of Legionnaire's disease, not only for players but for fans that are coming there. So they've kicked them out, basically saying it's going to take about 6 months to clean the thing to the point where it's actually usable again. So Vallenco, weeks out of La Liga starting and has no home. So they're looking around trying to find a place to play. This is a club that is, talk about the mismanagement. So they've just been kicked out of their stadium while at the same time they raised their season ticket prices by 15%. So they're trying to find, somewhere that's comparable for their season tickets holders. On top of that, they are the only team in the top flight of Spanish football that has no electronic portal for tickets. So if you want to buy tickets, you have to go to the tiny booth physically in person at the stadium to purchase your tickets.
Yeah.
Which now doesn't exist because they're not in that stadium. The mismanagement of this team, the more and more you look into them, is a comedy of errors.
Yeah, and this is a small stadium, like 14,000.
Yeah, right? It's not like a team in the top flight should be able to handle a stadium of this size.
Apparently
they should be able to handle any stadium that you're in. But one that's this size, you better be able to handle it.
This is not the first time that that the stadium was like had issues. In 2018,
Yeah,
it was deemed unsafe by the community of Madrid. Apparently, this is a Madrid-based team.
there you go.
And yeah, their opening game is on the 20th of this month.
We'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see as their lease is suspended. Where are they going to play? Community Park?
Yeah.
Yeah, one last thing here. We got to talk about Infantino and his going saga. He called an emergency FIFA executive meeting, but there have been rumors that he could be out. But who could replace him? One of the names been linked with that is Vancouver's very own Victor Montagliani.
Yeah, so this emergency meeting isn't an emergency meeting to basically oust him and try to bring in someone else, like what they did with Sepp Blatter back in the day. This is called by Infantino. I think this is damage control because what a week he had last week. We talked about it already with the last show, but it's not going away, right? He's lost a lot of support. You now have the Welsh FA, who has officially rescinded support for his candidacy to take over or to, be president for another term. English FA is going to be following in kind. It's just a matter of just announcing it. Now, the thing is it still seems like he has the support to run. But there was very, very pointed remarks that came out of the president of the Jordanian FA, which basically accused Infantino of blackmail, withholding funds in order to secure votes for Infantino for the next run. Jordan was the runner-up in the FIFA Arab Cup that happened, I think it was back in December, and should be awarded prize money as a result of being the runners-up. Now, that hasn't been paid yet. And apparently, through channels, they have been told that if they pledged support for Infantino, that would go a long way to releasing those funds. Obviously, now the thing is that the head of the Jordanian FA, I can't remember his name. I believe he's a prince within their royal family. He has run for FIFA leadership before, so does that influence maybe his comments as well? But I mean, bribery, corruption,
blackmail,
withholding funds. Doesn't this sound like the FIFA playbook?
Yeah, and I don't know, Infantino, we didn't think there'd be a worse FIFA president than Sepp Blatter, but Infantino has surpassed that by a mile.
Yeah. I don't think that you're going to see an emergency meeting that will be to remove him. If you're going to remove him, it's going to have to be because someone steps up to run against him. Now, you mentioned Montagliani. Montagliani is definitely a guy that has considered a bid before, but has always deferred running because of the relationship that he had with Infantino. Well, he's pissed. He's one of those guys that had no knowledge of what was going on right now. And I mean, he's pissed. So you might see him actually try to mount a bid. There is the current Secretary General of FIFA as well, a guy that we saw at various World Cups matches that could mount a bid. I believe he is also the COO as well, so there is that. There is the guy that was always running against him before. I believe he's a sheikh in Saudi Arabia. I can't remember the name again; that's escaping me. So there are names that could decide to run. No one has announced yet. Infantino has been in Rabat, Morocco, dealing with stuff coming up for the next World Cup, and also stuff with the CAF and what's coming up with the CAS ruling about the last AFCON. So, I mean, this just adds to the pile of stuff that FIFA has to deal with right now. But it's going to be right now the most important thing that FIFA has to deal with.
Yeah. Sure, his plans for buying the World Cup have failed, but yeah, this is not going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
Like what an absolute mess this is.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently he called Donald Trump and is to say, "Oh, you help me save my job." Trump didn't answer. That's really saying something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know Trump. Trump is the guy that demands everyone's aid and support when he wants something, but he's not there for you when you need it. So,
yeah, I guess that's right. And Louis Figo had pretty much called him out with a written blog post or something like that.
Yeah,
like this morning, and saying Infantino must go.
Yep.
So we'll see where this saga drags on. So that concludes this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Twitter, JoshuaRay00, Nathan and Dirk. Podcast at TerminalCityFC. We're on BlueSky, Instagram as well. Check out our YouTube channel as well, and all our writing for Air 51 Sports Network, and all the other podcasts for Spark Podcast Network. You got pickleball podcasts, basketball podcasts, wrestling podcasts, other lifestyle podcasts, and of course the Hockey Podcast Network. So, yeah, that concludes this week's episode. We'll be back next week talking Whitecaps Leagues Cup and all things in footy. Hopefully they get some wins and score some goals, and we'll have some clarity on who new signings will be.
Absolutely.
And the ownership situation.
Yes.
So that concludes this week's...
I don't know if we're going to have much clarity on that, but sure.
Yeah. So that concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.